Joining us from New Orleans now is Ed Daniels, sports director at WGNL. Ed, great to have you back on Big Game Bound. Saints and Vikings don't have a ton of playoff history, but, well, the last time they met produced one of the most memorable games ever. Any mention of the Minneapolis Miracle this week?
You know, Jack, I don't think so. I don't think there'll be much chatter about it. As you know, 2 years in the NFL is an eternity, and that was 2 years ago, January 14th, 2018. So I don't think there'll be a whole big mention of that this week. I don't sense that from the Saints locker room. I think that was eons ago, and I don't see it to be a big issue. Although you know that on the broadcast on Sunday, that play is going to be replayed many times. It's going to be replayed many times this week. But as far as what's going on this week, I hate to sound like a coach, but I really think it's irrelevant.
These are two defenses that rank amongst the best in the league in creating turnovers. Kirk Cousins has been turnover prone in his career. Will the Saints ramp up the pressure on Cousins?
Well, I think they will, even though, they lost Rankins and Davenport, two of their top defensive linemen, didn't play at the end of the season. Their pass rush has been pretty good, and their defensive line, which had a lot of depth, has really proven that it does have that. You know, the one thing that I would say about Minnesota is that they are getting Dalvin Cook back, and he had 1,135 yards this year and 13 rushing touchdowns, so that certainly will help. I think pressure on Kirk Cousins is a big thing because he doesn't move very well back there. He is a true NFL pocket passer. And I'll tell you one thing as far as the Vikings are concerned. If they did what they did against Green Bay and they generate 7 first downs, they'll lose by 40 on Sunday, because the one thing that the Saints are doing right now is whatever it is on offense, they found it. They've scored 160 points in the last 4 games, and they had not had a 40-point game all season. So whatever they needed to find, they found it offensively. So Kirk Cousins and the Vikings, they better step up their game on offense. To me, the only way they have a chance to win in this game is if they get at least 30. That's the bar for them on Sunday, as far as I'm concerned.
Ed, Drew Brees has led this franchise to 1 championship. A second puts him in some rare air. They've come so close, only to have their hearts broken the last 2 years. How much is this team motivated by what's happened in the last 2 seasons?
Well, I think they're motivated by that. Of course, what happened with the whole no-call mess with the Rams last year, and of course what happened with Minnesota 2 years ago. But here's the thing that I think even is more important than that. They understand that time is running out for the Saints to win a championship with Drew Brees at quarterback, who's a first-ballot Hall of Famer. And frankly, I'm absolutely stunned he is not one of the quarterbacks in the top 100 NFL team. I just thought that was a joke. But anyhow, you know, here's the thing, in my opinion. If you win 1 Super Bowl, you are legendary. If you win 2 Super Bowls, you are immortal. And on the level of importance, when you get 2 of them and you're able to do it again, I think it takes you to a whole new level. Not only the Saints and their quarterback and their head coach, but their organization. And I think they desperately want that title. The only thing that I think stands in the way of that this year is a very difficult road. If they beat Minnesota, they have to go to Green Bay, and then they probably have to go to San Francisco after that. And you know as well as I do that 3 seeds have not been very successful in the playoffs, and I think it's a very difficult road for the Saints ahead.
Absolutely. Now, one other question that kind of goes along with some of this is, you know, sometimes a franchise just knocks on the door, and they can't punch it in. And it can kind of set them back in a big way. But are these Saints young and talented enough to continue to compete at this level for years to come, even if they can't close the deal this time?
You know what? That is a great question, because after this year, Drew Brees is not under contract. My guess is if they didn't win the Super Bowl, he would certainly come back. I think he's going to come back regardless and continue to play. But, you know, here's the thing about the Saints. They have a very good young nucleus. This is a team that has weathered some adversity this year. Injuries on their offensive line, injuries on their defensive line. Alvin Kamara, until the last game or two, really has not been himself. He had an ankle and knee injury. And they've had a lot of things that potentially could have stood in their way this year, and they still won 13 games. And 5 of those 13 wins were without their Hall of Fame quarterback. So to kind of, answer your question this way, I would say that they have a very talented nucleus. They have a chance to be good for a long time, but the clock is running on the whole 2 Super Bowls with Drew Brees. And who's going to be the quarterback after that is a very, very interesting question, but one I think that the Saints are not interested in answering anytime soon.